In a world with many similarities to our own, there lies two planets that are both experiencing societal turmoil. One of them, the planet Remus, there lies a town named Hazel that is on the outskirts of one of the busiest cities on the planet. While society is strained with cultural change, in this town, there are beings that no one has seen and struggle not to be found as time goes on. The following is the story of some of the people who end up finding them through no fault of their own. This is Hazeltown Story.
Hello, and it's been a bit, but welcome to a new Hazeltown Story. Hope you have enjoyed or you had a good time while we were away, but we are here today. Unfortunately, will not be starting a new arc today. This is going to be another kind of, I don't know if slapdash is the right word, but as Hazeltown Story, the podcast, has kind of been a thing not only about playing an actual tabletop or doing an actual play tabletop thing, especially with it being a homebrew system, it's also about building one. An episode entirely about making changes, because last time we had a roundtable discussion to talk about what we thought about the system, and then we went away for a bit, and now I have ideas. We are not fully complete yet with ideas, but that is what this roundtable discussion will be, to talk about some potential changes that we are making to our system. Okay, so before we start this being a roundtable thing, we do have others with us, so please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Carnival.
I am, of course, Deathmaster 780.
And despite my best efforts, I'm TorpidTypist.
And I am your GM, LoloDePuzlo. So, last time, we talked about a lot of stuff. And I have, in the meantime, made a copy, because all of our rules, or all of our sheets right there, in a Google Sheets, and I have made, it was at 3.0, and now I have made ourselves a 4.0, although it's not, it probably more 3.5, whatever. We are a new version of the system.
Hey, it's a 4.0. It's a huge overhaul in some regards.
Yeah, but it's by no means finished. None of the changes will be set in stone. So that is what we're here to discuss. So I made a tab on this thing that is changes to 4.0. And I guess we'll kind of just go through here. I know that a lot of the stuff is not filled in yet, because there's a lot of stuff in these bullet points that we'll kind of have to go a bit piece by piece. Also, some of them are pretty self-explanatory. Also, none of these things are not necessarily listed in any. They were just when I thought of them. But that being said, I think the first one is probably was one of the things we had the biggest discussion about last time, which was our position system. Because our system is based primarily on, say, what the mix is, probably like 60-40. Forged, or was it Forged in the Dark is the term for when you're not Blades in the Dark?
Is the quote unquote like term, the marketing term. That's what it is. But yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of took our position system, that being I almost already forgot. It's like controlled, risky, desperate. When we do a roll, when a roll is done, there's two things that are given. There is your position and effect. I guess this technically, we were kind of having a discussion about what those even meant, like mechanic wise. And he kind of brought up the thing that it's kind of nebulous when we were in. Granted, a lot of stuff is up to GM approval or like what their decision, but some of the stuff kind of felt nebulous. Like it didn't really have a good thing on when is something risky versus desperate. And it felt like it wasn't really used that particularly well because we just kind of mostly was just risky, which I believe they mention actually in some of the rule books that risky is kind of your standard. And then the effect system kind of it reminded me a lot of when we were using Genesis of the advantage dice and the disadvantage or whatever the weakness dice or whatever it's called, where it really felt that you were mechanizing a kind of nebulous concept. And sometimes it didn't really feel like it would make sense. Like, say your character is like looking through a bookshelf and you're looking for a particular book. You like it would not be like controlled standard. But then your character has a thing where it's like, this is going to be actually controlled great. But you're just looking through a bookshelf for a book. How greater get? You're just trying to do one thing. So that's always kind of been my issue with the effect system. So I have a tab that is positions. That this is my idea for what to do instead, which is to come up with our own positions, which are a lot more simple. And it's kind of how it's kind of tailored to how we've been using them. So instead of having effect, there are cases where it makes sense that like the situation that you're in, that you're going to be at an advantage or disadvantage. So rather than have the effect be the kind of thing, I kind of thought of a system that would be literally just advantage or disadvantage, which is something that the GM will call when the action goal is like determined what it's going to be. And then instead of having the 3 positions of controlled, risky, and desperate, we now have 4 positions, which are calm, tense, loud, and danger. And this was inspired a little bit from DM's way of handling it, where danger is kind of the call for the case where, the enemies are doing their retaliatory phase against you. So that would be a danger. I'll say in that final fight would be loud. I kind of also got inspired a little bit by, like, say, Payday, how their thing was, because how you do the stealth section in, like, you try not to caught, but then you could do everything without, but once that which gets flipped and you caught, and then you're in kind of a loud mode. That's kind of what this position kind of was also partially inspired by. And I think that's a little bit straightforward of a system. Compared to what Force of the Dark offers by default. So some other things. I have some other things in here. One is there's a lot of stuff that is like, this thing, your archetype abilities. A lot of them were, you get plus effect in X scenario. What I did instead as an idea is to have 2 concepts, which are skilled and weakness, as like specific terms, like you are skilled at something, like keyword skilled and weakness, which would basically just be a plus 1d, because that's kind of the easiest thing to do. We could kind of come up with something else, but if that doesn't end up working out, but that's kind of what I threw down. Where if you're skilled in something, you get plus 1d, minus 1d if you have weakness, which is the simplest kind of thing. I also, I know I talked to Carnival about this beforehand, and this is kind of a rule that I just threw in there just because it would be weird, because this technically could come up. If you have a weakness in something and because the rule right now is if you are not skilled in something, or if you don't have any ranks in a skill, you would roll 2 die, and you would take the worst of the 2 die. If you go -1 from that, I figured what would make sense is, you just fail the roll, like automatically, because like, what do you do after that? But if we want to choose some other, like, so that's a floor, we hit something, then it doesn't really matter. You don't necessarily have to.
Rolling 3 dice and taking the lowest would be incredibly funny, but I feel like automatic failure makes more sense.
That is fun. I will give you that. That is a fun idea, which I would be tempted to do.
See, I like that more of the rolling 3 die and taking the lower than just automatic failure, because that still presents the chance of, like, you crazy lucked out and got that thing instead of just no. Because, like, if something is truly impossible, you as the GM should just say, no, you can't roll on that.
Yeah, the more that, especially, this is also one of the reasons why I wanted to have a talk with this. I do think that rolling more, I guess really you can't progressively go more, because I suppose if you have a weakness in something and it's thing, you could, I guess, have 4, roll 4 die, take the lowest.
I wouldn't go more than 3. Like,
to be fair, the situation that would call, but because the situation in which it happens could be 9. Like, that should be something with a business effect, because not only would you have to choose that you have a weakness in it, you would potentially try to make that roll, and then in a situation where the GM is like, no, this is a bad time to do it normally, now you're trying to do this at your worst possible thing.
Yeah, it's like,
it's a thing that it technically could happen, but very good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, getting to that point, it's like, okay, just thinking numerically, the roll taking the lowest of 4 die, like, I think 3 will have, like, a decent shot to make a success. 4 is like, Granted, it does. I don't even also know how likely that is even, like, occur and how often that would be.
Yeah, it's a thing. It does also bring me up to the other thing that I keep with, which is the egregious modifier, based on that have happened campaign, and I figured this would be an additional tool set for when someone decides to be cocky and needs to get slapped.
Okay, first off, how dare you?
This is and this is what I put down for giggles, but I think it would be kind of fun. It is very much this is kind of stupid, but it's kind of fun. Which is the description I put down for is actor is doing something particularly daft, just something completely bonkers. Which the rules for that mind dice, but the same rule that this would be the same going with that. And you would need 3 6s in order to count as a crit. Because I felt like that would be
angry about last time, that's all.
Yes.
You hate me because you hate me.
I just kind of felt there should just be a little bit of a tool in the toolbox to say, hey, okay, you want to be a smart, go earn your role. Which, as we go through other things, I have incorporated this into other things. When we get to a different bullet point, I'll get into that. Also, just for funsies, I felt it would be fun for that is if when you did that, and if you full failed, take 4 stress ego death penalty.
I'm not super. That feels a bit too much.
Yeah,
I
stress.
Yeah, I did that as goof.
Has.
No, I also just did that as goof.
So salty. He hates me.
All right,
I feel targeted.
So yeah, that's the positions. What are people's thoughts on the new positions?
That makes sense to me. Like some again, some of the number stuff probably will to like just check, but I think
Yeah, and
these sound
and a lot of the stuff that I
Yeah.
wrote down is kind of something that I just wanted to get something down just as an example. Because like especially like what is like when should a character take harm, or when should a character take stress, or what should happen if you fail in a calm situation? Because ideally there shouldn't be any like you might take stress, but you shouldn't take harm from that. Though, unless it was a case of like you're trying to do an agility check on trying to jump up to something that technically no one would care, but if you fell down, you would hurt yourself. And again, that's something that I guess could figure out. But regardless, that is, I will keep those for the most part. We could talk specific things outside of that. Okay.
Hater
So-
DePuzlo.
Speaking of things I hate, I've decided to just go full on out, and I am just naming. We have had such back and forth on the names for our stats, for the skills. I just kind of now just want to have it be just standard ass strength, dexterity, so forth, because just to make it a little easier. Also to make
Let
it
me
a
know
little.
that I am intimidated by intimidation.
Look, I mentioned that I did not have a chance to think the color grading on the monitor at work is real.
Yeah, and you get intimidated in return.
Look,
I see everything.
but yeah, it again seems fine so far.
there. I also think another thing that I want to point it out. Also, the thing about this is another thing that we've had kind of left it open because it didn't really matter to anyone's skill set. Which is I kind of caught up, like I kind of came up with a more solid idea on what to do for the hard skills. Because it was before it was like care, working on this, so I already some of the older stuff, but
Like channel and
yeah, it was channel connect and
Introspect.
introspect. So instead I've said screw that, and instead I've made the heart skills kind of effective, more like personality skills. Probably is not the greatest way to put it, but the three skills are now technique, creativity, and willpower. So like technique would be your ability to do the thing that you are good at, or your special interest. And then creativity is like creativity. And then willpower is kind of what I wanted one of them to be before, but it's effectively just discipline and like the ability to do something even though you don't necessarily want. Like the ability to just broad, if like this would be a stat that would be, I think I have a few things where if you're in like trying about to take pelling, that could help you.
It's interesting
And
that
then-
you made the heart stats all magic stats, but also aim is also for aiming magic.
So
Dexterity is for aiming
that-
magic.
So that one is because if you're using magic, because like if you're doing like a magic like missile or like the magical bolt, you still got to aim the thing. Like that's still like you can make the bolt appear on your fingertips, but you got to shoot it at something. It doesn't auto track. So that is why dexterity is needed for that.
see, I guess that was my thing of just more of like moving magic to be free form. I would think just scrap it being directly related to a stat, just because we've had it where
This
this
one-
technique is being used to sabotage someone, so that in the old that would seem to be a more direct, like this is rolling what the action you were doing, but you
When
might
I
have more
get
to say on that.
Yeah, when we get to the skills change, that one we could probably have a little bit more of a conversation. Because I did want to do it to have a little bit more free form. But there is still a lot of it, because it's like a lot of it is like would be kind of things that are from technique or creativity. It just kind of happens to be that. But there are other magics you could use other skills for it.
Okay.
But we'll have, because I am very much open to doing that, but it depends upon what the spell actually is. But that is something we can get in when we talk about skill changes. Does anyone else have anything Oh, also I put down some things about benefits about failure or ideas for if you crit with that skill or fail with that skill. That might be that's not like set in stone, but that's just more of like, oh hey, if you're thinking of, or if you're the GM, you're trying to think about what a penalty could be.
With the frequency which it comes up, are we upping the amount of stress that players get?
No, but well, not by threshold number. I'll get to other things, because things that use stress, the amount of stress it requires has gone down. And actually we might as well go to that one, because that one's going to be short. Did anyone have any things to say about stats?
No, that seemed
No.
fairly straightforward.
Nothing to say? I will take that as a yes or a no. Okay. So, the thing that actually about with stress, because part of the problem with using stress was the fact that with the way that how thresholds worked, you got dazed real quick.
Yeah.
Like it did not take that much. So, I am proposing that both dazed and harm, because they're kind of one, they kind of go together. Before wounded would trigger if you got to below half. I now think that it should trigger at either 3 or 2. That way that you don't just immediately get posed by it. And also with dazed, I think that should only trigger at 3 stress. Like raw. Like no, like it doesn't matter what your threshold is. Once you hit 3 stress and below, that is when days kick, and no higher.
That definitely feels better, because the half threshold kind of disincentivizes a lot of things.
Yeah, so that's kind of why. So where I am not adding number like more to the threshold, I'm making it so that the penalties for using are much lower. Because so if you're wondering where your character sheets are, I deleted them. They're in the old one, so and you didn't lose anything. But with the amount of changes that we're going to be making, everyone's re-rolling.
Yeah, I kind of figured as much, because
there are so many changes that it's not, you can't just copy and paste over, no matter what we end up doing. Also, that will make sure that we will have it where okay, I got everything good, and then everyone makes it off the sheet, and then everyone should have the same sheet. Because there was always the problem with the last thing where it was like, okay, is this a 2.0 sheet? Is this a 3.0 sheet? So there's that. So, what's done? Did anyone else have any other comments on that?
No.
Okie dokie. Where is my thing? Okay, so the other one that's going to be short. I want to I want to kind of move away. I want that rule doc is pretty old. So I want to just get all the stuff into this thing, so we don't have to go back and forth. I'll also put like the list of meta types and the list of that. I need to update those lists too, is also the problem. Is because it's almost like this thing's like 4 years old, and I've had different ideas on how the lore should be.
Fuck
so
up.
Yes, as we slowly chip away of like being in reality, as we just let's scrub that out a bit.
Yeah, let's chip some of the maybe not the greatest ideas that I've had in the past in regards to different things. But yes, I want to just get it in the thing, so plus it'll be easier for everyone. So I think that would be a thing. Okay. Here's another one that I want. This one will be quick. That I want to chip out the ammunition system. It's something that's been in there since the beginning. We have never used it because it's really too much of a pain in the ass to deal with. But I do have a proposition for how it should work. Because if you look at the character sheet, you'll notice that there is an ammunition thing. What I propose we should do is, because there's always been the thing that if you say miss with a gun, like say you did a partial success or a failure with the gun. One of the things that's always been a thing is the run out of ammo is always on the table in regards to as a consequence. We kind of never did that. What I propose that we should do is that everyone, like when you have like a refresh, whenever you fully heal, full whatever, you set your to 5, or we can figure out what number is best. And then we'll just have that as a point. And then if you have a mixed success or a failure of a gun, part of the thing is like, okay, your thing is you lose an ammo stack, so you just bump it down to 4. That also being said, I think what also would go down with it, which is I would have stuff that's automated. Like say, okay, at 5 stacks you have all access to all things. At 4 stacks you would have the same. Once you hit either 2 or 3, maybe you lose access to your primary gun. You have to use your backup. Then at 1 you would lose another thing, and then so forth. And that, because I think that's easier to keep track of, but also gives you another. It would also make sense if we are using guns.
So I'm trying to find it where it is exactly. Okay, yeah, it's right on. Okay, runner. So it's just like a ablative health bar, effectively.
It's another health bar, effectively, and it's a drop down, so you don't have to like. There's also infinity because the marksman, I think, gets a thing that's infinite ammo.
Let's see.
I've been making changes to some things, so there are some things that are different. We will go over that. Some of the ideas.
Oh, yeah, they have an ability that's always have ammo.
Yep. So, did anyone have any comments on that?
It seems fine. Like, part of it is like, I don't know how much it's going to actually be used, just because ultimately combat is not where this is its strongest point as like a focus.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to keep a sequel. Yeah, keep it simple. So it's just like, we're not keeping track of ammunition per gun. It's just, hey, you burned up more resources than you thought. Let's see.
Torpid, do you have anything?
Not off the top of my head. I guess it would put magic guns at a stark advantage comparatively, but I think that's the only thing that really comes to mind.
Also, give me 1 second. Okay, I think my voice gate might have been a little bit too high. Yeah, it's something we could work out. We could just decide to say screw it and just scrap it, which I am also not against. But I figured it was there, and it's something I'm like, oh, okay, that gives it a little bit more.
No, I appreciate it. It's just figure out the trade-offs, I guess.
Yep, it is. Again, we're gonna have to do some testing with it. But can't really test it unless you throw stuff at the wall. Speaking of throwing stuff at the wall, skill system. Beforehand, when you created your character, you would choose 2 skills. These are usually your magic. I kind of felt that it was a little bit too rigid. Also, especially once we added, because in our first pass, it made it so that you didn't really like, you just picked magic because mechanically it would just better. Then once we added the training, then it felt like if you were taking magic that you were actually at a slight disadvantage because you would have action roll boosts that you could not get otherwise. So if you took magic, you were a little bit restricted in skill. For something that kind of, I always meant magic to be a tool belt, not a buff. Like if you did not take magic, that is okay. It just you don't have quite the skills, because most of the stuff that magic could do, you could do mechanically, like with other stuff. Like healing is better with magic, but also you can just heal with other means. So what I decided was, instead of picking two things that you just copy into the sheet, is that there are now two boxes that are built into the character sheet. One is magical attunement, and the other is character quirks. Magical attunement is basically whether or not your character can use magic. And when you pick your character, you will pick one of four things. Well, depending upon what your archetypes are, you might have one thing chosen for you. But effectively, if you just have the ability to choose, you choose one of three things. You effectively, and this has been one of the things that's a pain in the ass to figure out what to call it. Because the name that I thought of was magically inert, and I hate it. It doesn't sound good, but effectively it's, you don't have magic. And then there is also, you are magically adept, therefore you have access to magic. Or you can choose Magic Bane, which is the old Magic Bane. So
I mean, would mundane work just as fine for magically inert?
probably. Mundane is a probably much better term. I'm going to write that down.
Just because that's one of those kind of universally used ones, as far as I know.
The problem is with and this is very much just a dumb thing. When I think of the word mundane, I always think of Harry Potter.
Yeah, there's a specific one for that.
Yeah, no, I was about to
Well,
say.
no, not using that, but for some reason I always think of mundane with that. But I think mundane is probably a much better term. So I'll probably end up using that. And you pick that, and then if you pick mundane, you would get 3 benefits from it. And I don't have names for these, so that's why they're blank. One stat for mundane, extra. Let's see. And again, I apologize. I have not gone through a grammar pass. Extraplanar beings cannot detect you by using magical beings. However, they are completely invisible and inaudible to you. Next one is, since you have not needed to go through the training required to use magic, bold 2 stats that you will be skilled at because of your training in them. So instead of getting a raw, I guess this is a raw action boost, you would actually go into the thing and pick 2 stats, bold them in Google Sheets, and it is okay, I am now skilled in those, so I'll get +1 die for those skills. So it's effectively the old action boost, but there's that.
I do like the idea of a mundane ghost hunter. They just go looking for extraplanar beings. Their buddies can see them and hear them just fine. Is there someone in the room?
That's just every ghost hunter show.
Basically.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, your archetypes both start out with 5 additional XP. And use that skill specifically, or that 5 XP specifically, to mark the adaptability class. So you start out with both of your adaptability classes picked. So you technically start out with more. Also, it's an adaptability, so you effectively get 2 out of the 3 out of any of the rule books. but it's not something that you'll, because theoretically, if you're fully leveled up, you're the same thing. That part is not as like you'll be the same as everyone else. So that's kind of my thing for the mundane, what they get. And then Magic Bane is effectively the same as it was. However, I did kind of more I did like very much specify some things. For example, like for Magic Bane, you are immune to almost all audio, life, and mind magic. Or better and worse. That being said, highly skilled or people can, if you have like four in the ranks in the skill, you can bypass that.
Then my question is the second one. Do the in stress still apply while that doesn't fail, or
I'll make a note because in my head, or my intention was no.
Okay. Because I figured it was that they were just adept enough to power through it.
Yeah, that's what the idea is. I just didn't write it down. Because where is my mouse? There's I can't. Why can I not see my mouse cursor? There it is. And four used there. And then the other one is effectively the same thing where you're invisible to detect magic. All the stuff in the third one was part of the other one. That being said, if you choose to do magic, and here's kind of a big change. When you make your character, and specifically after you choose your archetypes will determine what pool of magic tags you can pick from. You'll pick 2. I decided to get rid of I don't call them animancy, I don't call them telepathy, what they are. It's just simple life, mind, energy, tech, audio, and Vox is still there. So you would pick 2 of those, and you would go into the list, which is currently sheet 22. And you would 12 skills that has at least one of your tags. So if you picked, let's say, energy and life, you could take magical shield because that requires either energy or life.
Okay, I see what you mean. So I'm just thinking. So Elmis, I've got tech and I don't know what.
Wizardry is energy, and clairvoyance and telepathy are mind.
Okay.
I think I kind of merged them because they effectively were kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I was just trying to, because I know you said wizardry is energy, clairvoyance and tech are mind, and then clairvoyance and telepathy are mind, and then tech is tech. I'm just trying to think of that.
Yeah. So you pick 2, and then you would pick 12 skills, and you get them right off the bat. That way, I figured rather than having because I felt like with the pre-built spell list, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't really useful. You would only use like a handful of things. This way, you have okay, this character I want to focus on these things.
And how many does a character get?
12.
12
That
skills.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah, that is mostly the number that I picked was specifically because that's just how many blank rows I had in the sheet. I could limit if we think that's too much. I just put that down, or I just gave you 12 rows because that's what fit better into the thing.
Yeah, I feel like 12 is way too much, especially relative to what the others get.
In relative to what?
So wait. We're still talking about skills, right? So magic and shit?
Yes.
Yeah, 12 is way too much, especially compared to what Magic Bane and Mundane get.
Yeah, they only get 3. Yeah, that I was thinking 12, but that's again, I just left it there because that's what looked there.
Yeah, I was thinking like 5, like 6 might be enough to define a character. Honestly, even
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
might be a
6
little
sounds
much.
fun.
Yeah.
So the only thing I would say about that, and then this we could work this through some other way. Transform. There was a couple things that I felt were weird. So that transform effectively the way it works requires 3 spell spots. Because that used to be a skill on its own. But I felt like transform kind of a big thing for not that much. But the problem is that it's going to be a hefty boy if I condense that. Which I mean I can.
So, what are the 3 stages of it?
So it is the part of actually transforming. It actually might only be 2 because because what? If you look at the old skills for transform, there was like a lot more Medusa to it, which actually I don't know if we need.
Again, I don't know if I ever. We did that once, and it was not. It was fun, but I don't think it has ever actually
I-
came up because again, not a
Yeah, and also it's like we don't need to have like say sense in the world, like all this stuff. We could just say, oh hey, you have the ability to transform into a different fit. You get like a 1 skill boost when you're there. Done. So I could just move that to be one slot, and then it's all hunky dory. But yeah, you can also, if you look at the spell list, you can see that a lot of spells are either have no cost or have very little cost.
Well, okay, so they're saying willpower plus. Is that so?
So
The
that
spell
is
cost is that just saying the?
it's the action
Yeah,
roll.
that's what I'm. Okay.
Now this is the thing where I could have it, and I just did this one just to have something down. We could say if some of these skills, and this would be us going like we could go through the thing and figure it out on an ad basis. But like say magical boat, it would be a dexterity roll, or like battery would be a mechanics or technology roll. That one we can figure out. You could kind of, but the spell costing was more just as a thing. Like for example, healing something, since it draws from your own energy to heal something, that would be a willpower thing, or you could say it's a technique thing. So I could list a couple different things, but generally it's going to be 2 or 3 skills at most. So does anyone else have any other thoughts or things to add?
I guess I'm just trying to this because it's like it feels like to be like selecting the different magic skills. I think that works fine, but I just feel it feels weird to just lock magic into certain stats versus like just the general vibe of the system itself is, hey, you're trying to do this sneaking thing. You say how you're sneaking, and there you would then pick the stat you roll. So I'm part of it's me thinking of just like
We could
you
say
would select spells as each of the spells as are like permission, but they would still work on the. You roll the stat based on your trying to roll. Like say someone's got battery, but they're doing is to do a to like okay, you're using this to explode something.
yeah, in which deviance would make more sense.
Yes.
We could just say, hey, action roll. That's the spell cost, and you pick the action roll.
That's what I would think would just work better. It's just picking the specific spells gives you the tags of this is what your character does kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. That changing that to just be say action roll, I think would also be perfectly fine. Did any other comment?
No.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. So that's kind of the beginning. The thing that I just threw this together as an idea because I had a blank part of the thing that I didn't know what to put in. So the character quirks. I figured this would just be kind of a fun thing to give every character a little bit of like mechanical personality, so to speak, where basically everyone would pick a skill set that basically it helps with resistance, one that they resist worse in, a skill set that they learn faster in, a skill that they or set that they learn slower in, and then one skill that they are naturally skilled at, and one skill that they are naturally weak at.
I have to think about this one a bit more because, like, XP things I feel kind of real. Like, it is just a single skill, but like XP things I feel kind of real hesitant to real for
And
just because of how it can does things to the curve.
yeah, that one I just kind of threw together because it's like, okay, we could throw that off,
And then
or
just
as a little bit of
and again, all of these I don't I there's an idea that's interesting to this, but it's also like I don't know, like losing a die, especially for things like resistance, feels real bad, especially because how spread out the skills are that could like I would go ahead.
For me at least, the idea of the strong weak thing is obviously you'll always prioritize the strong one. That's normal. Thing is,
Yeah.
because of how freeform a lot of the actions are in this, you'll just look for any excuse to not use the weakness and just use something in its place.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
that's something I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's like,
and that
oh, you
does.
roll the weakness, you gain an extra experience point. Now that would you gain it for rolling weak traits, getting experience. That would definitely incentivize working towards them more.
Yeah, that's again. This is something I literally threw together because there would be a blank spot that I don't know what to fill in. Other than that, but that is something we can. Anyone else has any ideas? I'm open to that. The quirks thing was just it wasn't something. It was like a thing I had like a 50% of like, oh, okay, I'll throw it in there and see how we feel about it. Anyone else have anything else for that? Then
No.
Not off the top of my head.
No, not off the top of my head.
okay. I put down reworking of equipment, and then I think I moved on to something else.
Yep, because
Yes,
equipment's still exactly the same.
Yep, and because I think I looked at it and it's like I can't think of any other thing that would be less complicated, that would just be so simple that it's not even worth it. So I think I just decided, you know what, let's just keep it the way it is for now. So scratch that one. Oh yeah, clarification for XP gain. I want to just very much do the thing where I think it should be that if you fail a roll in any skill, that if you fail it, you should always be able to mark XP for that skill set. Just specifically because I feel like it better it better incentivizes the idea that failure is a learning thing, and that it's something you can take away from. Also, it just makes it so that it incentivizes the use of a lower skill, like that thing where we were talking about where, well, I'll just never use the skill then. I kind of feel like if you don't have that ability to learn, then there's no reason not to use a skill that you're not good at. And then it's not like, because we only have so far 3 people in the thing. It's not like we have like a 5-team thing and you have much of like, sometimes you're just going to be the one person, and I would like to have it so that if someone who in that thing fails, that someone else can kind of try at least, so they're not just sticking there like just sitting there just twiddling their. Did anyone have anything with that?
No, I
That
think
seems
that's
fine.
a good way to go.
Okay, well, let's see, what else do I got? Oh, because we are getting rid of the effect system. This affects a lot of archetype skills. And that had me looking at the thing, and I kind of looked at the archetypes, and I realized a lot of the UK ally skills are really nebulous and also kind of not worth it because they're very specific. Also, they kind of bind your character to having a specific, like, story bit, which is something that I don't like. So, if we want to have, like say a lot of the Bobby Consortium stuff, that was a lot of stuff that's not mechanically driven. Some of it is, but not all of it. And I kind of like that stuff better than just like, oh, you have a random person, like muscle, therefore you kind of have to be working a thing where you get like a construction worker as an ally. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, you know what, I'd rather think of something else. Which is why when I've gone through, I did go through a number of the archetypes. Obviously, I'm not fully finished because I wanted to have this conversation before I kind of settled on stuff. But if you look at the archetypes, you'll notice that some of the stats or skills are now. I know the rogue I actually ended up changing a fair bit of stuff in that one. I did also move some stuff from the learnable abilities to because those skills were one of the parts that you couldn't adaptability. I actually moved some of the abilities that were in learnable ability to that section that you can't use adaptability for, just because I feel like that's some skills that should only be done by that particular archetype. Like, say, Trip to the Gun Show. It really kind of only makes sense if you're the muscle to do the thing that you have to use your muscles to. Like, that feels like a very the muscle thing.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Especially
if you go there,
getting rid of the ally things, which, yeah, those also just kind of weren't used.
Also, one other thing, and this is a minor thing. I did also make it so one thing I do kind of like going back to the equipment stuff. I do kind of want to make it so that some things, because the way that equipment worked, the highest damage that you could do was 2/2. So two pierce, 2 base damage. I have some things here that do 3/3, and then for the marksman, in some cases you can do 4/4. I kind of gave the marksman that ability because if you're picking the marksman, that's probably what you want to do to begin with, because you're already kind of like dedicating yourself to be that kind of thing. So I felt like giving you that in your toolbox would make sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to
repeat that really quick because I sneezed. I didn't hear it.
So basically, I changed it so that some things, like the muscle now has, beforehand, the highest amount of damage you could do was 2/2. You can hit twice.
Oh, so
but the highest damage you could do is 2/2. Those, yeah, in some cases, like the muscle now has an ability that attacks made with strength action roll deal 3/3 on critical hits.
Okay.
And also the marksman, they have ability on a critical hit, you do 4/4 damage, which would instantly kill a higher level enemy.
Something I need to think on.
Yeah, it's a thing that
would then give it a
good
distinct advantage over strength. I guess you could. Also, it basically makes that if you want that kind of that character, it's basically requiring certain things, like
possibly, yeah. That could be yes. I did put it in the thing that it is an adaptable skill to learn.
True. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense then. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. What was the other stuff the rogue that I changed? Yeah, because there's some skills of the rogue that just do not make sense if we don't have effect. I did change I like to live dangerously to be so that you were skilled at being or at action rolls done in the danger prison. what was it? Okay, cross counter. I'm trying to remember what it was. I know I went through some of these and wrote a lot more words. The investigator, or the inspector, I'm trying to think of more stuff to that. That one was a little tricky to think of stuff for because a lot of that stuff was effect. I know the show off I changed a bit because I changed it from the show off. Like I did add and this is one we could probably think of something else because this one might be a bit much even for something that's a dedicated show off, which is winning as the jester. Should you critically succeed in an egregious position, you mark 10 XP for this archetype and fully recover stress.
That's too. It is too rare for the egregious position, and then it's too. It creates a weird fishing for that's like I don't say.
It's also a negative incentive. I just thought this was more of a joke.
How dare you?
Let's see. Red Special is kind of the same thing. A lot of this stuff I think was mostly in. I did add some stuff that in danger positions that you get benefits. I think. Oh, the heart I think I changed a good bit on because that one I more elaborated on. I know I moved some things from. Yeah, it's missing ability because I moved one of the abilities, that one to the leader because the leader now has the ability learning opportunity. I guess that makes more sense, I feel, as a leader ability than a heart ability, which is mark 1 X. You add XP trigger, mark 1 XP anytime you fail in assisting an ally. And yeah, some of these are going to have blanks because I couldn't figure out what to do. I know signature spell works a little bit differently now because again, some of that stuff was that instead now it's just you're skilled at that spell. Oh right. This might be one. Screw the rules. I have stress threshold. Did you blanks in a stat to cast it? Or we could reword this as if you want to use a magic spell with a skill that you have 4 more stat or ranks in, you can just choose to cast, add an additional stress. Just say you succeed.
That would make more sense in its if we didn't change it to. I think the idea there isn't sound. It's just it needs a bit more work.
Yeah, especially if we're going to have it be freeform, then yeah, we could rework that one. Let's see. I just deleted something. Oh, what? Okay, hopefully I undid it. Oh, what else did I got? Oh, the engineer. I know I had to rework some of reword some of that. Oh yeah,
right.
The occultist.
Have you done any changes? Have you done any changes to downtime, or is he haven't gone to that yet?
That one I figured I'd wait for that until we do a couple more test runs for that one specifically. I know we had some thoughts on I'd get the other stuff done first.
That's fair. You just saw the injury, and that made me think about it. So
yeah, no, I think that downtime would still be in the thing, at least as of now. That part I did not get to yet.
Completely understandable. It just is asking.
Yeah, and then the sworn. I have to think about that one again. The relic has one of the relic abilities I think is down completely pointless without effect. I forgot which one it was though, but that one's blank. And that's kind of all the ones that's specific. Oh, go ahead.
Because like mission control under the agent, that's like basically a given ally ability. Is that going to get changed or not?
Let's see. You're not part of the organization. I will. This one will. Yes, this one will probably get changed, but you'll get a benefit of some sort. But I don't. It will probably be different.
I think the the agent, like, definitely because its structure is like you're an agent of an organization, an ally skill being like one of its core nine. That's the core of what the story you're picking.
Yeah, that one actually does make sense to have. So that one, actually, now that you mentioned it, probably might not get changed.
Now the Sorn, which that all part of that is being part of a group, but that still probably needs some more rework.
Yes, that one for sure. I know. I want to rework some stuff. So yeah. So yeah, as you go through, you'll notice that there's some blanks. If anyone else has some abilities or ideas, we can always just post it in the Discord. But yes, note that there's going to be there's going to be a lot of changes, which again is also part of the reason why we're going to re-roll every character.
Yeah, that's completely understandable.
Yeah, even then, like, we were getting Aravia specifically was just okay. It was, if she was in a fight, it was like almost pointless to even consider failure.
Yeah. But when I mean re-rolled, you'll probably still like have like Aravia's going to have a lot of XP. That one will probably still be there, but you'll have to make a new sheet, and I'll give you the ability to change. You'll get an equivalent number of XP. Like your archetypes will probably have the same XP, but you'll be able to like pick different things. And if you want to change archetypes because of the abilities that I wanted are no longer there, I'll be this archetype instead. That I think.
Also, there's a reason I started making other characters, but they were also low key kind of metagamed.
Yeah, Queen had a hell of a time in the last campaign.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's kind of the main bullet points. There could be some other changes. So it seemed like most of the ideas kind of are at least going in a good direction. I'll probably think we can probably come up with ideas for what to do for character quirks if we want to have like a subsystem for that. Or hell, we might even, if we don't want to like move the ammunition, I naturally just cut the sheet short and then put stuff that's at the bottom into this box. Because I might have enough space for that. And that way we can have only what we need. Yeah, especially if if the magical attunement doesn't need to be quite as long. Then the other sheet thing doesn't need to be as long. And then mechanically I could shrink this a good bit. But yeah. Does anyone else have any other thoughts or ideas that they'd have or things to think about?
I have one. As like the one person who did make use of the ally abilities before. Could you like make a tab that's like allies or called allies or followers or something like that?
Oh, yes.
Because like at least figure out the details on that, at least organize something around like allies and stuff like that.
Yeah, that I can. That could be easy. Like I can just go ahead and do it right now. Oops. There.
All right.
We can figure out how you want to format that. Did anyone else have?
No, not even, not that I could think of at this point without further testing. So
yeah. Nothing off the top of my head.
Okay, so with that being said, I think it's going to take me a little bit to fill all this out. Like I said, I kind of thought I was like 60% of the way there. But I'll take kind of the changes that we mentioned in mind, and we'll go ahead and do that. With that being said, in regards to future things, I know Carnival, you said that you needed some more time to come up with your stuff, right?
Well, yeah, and since especially if we're gonna do the change, I'd be more willing on that.
Yeah, that I figured would make sense. So, I know we just had a big break. But I think it's going to be a little bit. We're not going to be back in time for next week or next session. I was going to say, well, it'll probably be at the end of the month, but then I realized, we only would have one. It's right. It's February. We would only have a session, and it's not going to be 2 weeks. So, it's probably not going to be. Our next session would actually. It would. I mean, it literally.
It'll happen when it'll happen.
It'll happen when it'll happen. We'll see if we got something ready for the 6th of March. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. We will be back when we are back. Good. There's a Friday the 13th in March.
Yep.
Yeah.
That give you a hint. Torpo. That's also one on your movie nights.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's 13th next week too.
Oh wait, is there? Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. 2 Friday 13th next to each other. That's great.
Look, this
Anyway.
year's already. It's already.
Okie dokie. I think that's been enough stuff. I figured let's actually get together and actually get something out there. Just so that we're still doing this. And we're going to go back to our hole and we're going to work more on it. So we can get something neat. Anyway, with that being said, before we wrap this up, any final thoughts or things to get before we wrap this up?
Nope.
Nope.
Not really.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you again when we are back up and running. Which hopefully, but anyway, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Previous episodes of Hazeltown Story can be found at BeKindRewind.hazel.town or radio.hazel.town. If you would like to know more about the universe and have an interest in video games, you can watch LoloDePuzlo's Journal, our sister show, that can be found at theater.hazel.town or BeKindRewind.hazel.town. If you would like to keep up to date with Lolo, you can follow them at co-host or BlueSky at LoloDePuzlo. There is also a Discord server in which you can potentially catch episodes being recorded live at club.hazel.town. Thank you for listening to Hazeltown Story. I welcome you to come back for more.